So I'm sure you know that South Korea has a massive feminist problem. And recently, South Korean feminists are so bad that they got a president elected for basically standing up to them and promising to make things better for men. So if you think feminists are bad to deal with in the US, they're even worse in South Korea. But they're not taking their loss very nicely over there. They're still acting up. A world without men. Well, you'd be living in grass huts and not enjoying all these first world privileges that let you act this way. The women's of South Korea's 4B movement aren't fighting the patriarchy. They're leaving it behind entirely. So this is the women's version of MGTOW, like they're trying to sell this as, which I think it's funny because men do this. Men go MGTOW and, oh my God, it's a threat to society. Oh, we got to stop this. Women do it. Oh, you go, girl. You show that patriarchy. See how long this lasts. Probably until the eggs dry up. Youngmi's childhood was a difficult one. The 25-year-old nurse. Oh, 25, huh? This is your last chance. You're almost a Christmas cake. Was born to a poor family in Daegu, South Korea, known for being one of the most conservative cities in the country. Youngmi's mom left home when she was young to escape her husband's physical abuse, leaving her and her sister behind with him and their paternal grandmother. When she was 5, her 8-year-old sister started losing her hair from stress. Oh my! Now this just shows you how caring of a mother she was. She ran away. She saved her own ass. But she left the kids with the abusive father. Not good going there. So as she grew older, Youngmi found herself depressed, unsure of what her future held. Well, now that you're making this choice, I think I know what your future is going to hold. And financially unstable in Korea's patriarchal society, in which women are expected to defer to their fathers and adhere to rigid beauty standards, she felt like a perpetual victim. No, you turned yourself into one. Obsessed by the wrongs done to her by her father and pressured into maintaining her appearance in order to please men. Despite her meager budget as a nursing student, she purchased new clothes each season, spent a lot of money on cheap, poor-quality clothes from H&M. She wore makeup religiously. I couldn't go outside without any makeup. I felt ashamed of my face, she said. I had this pressure of wanting to look beautiful and wanting to be desirable physically or sexually. I'll have you know, if you think this is a problem, if you think this is unique to women, maybe relationships aren't made for you, because men go through this too. If a man wants to attract a woman, he has to make himself desirable as well. Well, do you think you can skip that? You can make yourself undesirable and men will still throw themselves all over you? Like, if you're okay with being single, fine, by all means. Don't feel the need to make yourself look good. But if you're trying to attract a mate, there's things you got to do. And you got to keep that up after you get married too, or else the whole thing falls apart. Don't forget that part. So while scrolling through Twitter in the current year -5, Youngmi came across footage of protests taking place in the streets of Seoul in South Korea, where cases of femicide, revenge porn, and dating violence are widespread. A surge of spy cam sex crimes overwhelmingly committed by men. Okay. Has mostly resulted in fines and suspended jail sentences if they're prosecuted at all. That was not the case, however, for one 25-year-old woman who had taken a non-consensual photo of a nude male model at an art school and posted online. She was sentenced to 10 months in prison, and court-ordered sexual violence counseling. Demonstrations were a reaction to the blatant hypocrisy. Yeah, so I know a little bit more about the situation in South Korea, and why, yes, they definitely, some of what they say is true. A lot of it is being blown out of proportion because, man, like, feminists in South Korea make our feminists look like trad wives. Like, they are that bad. You can't actually listen and believe to anything they say. Youngmi was moved by the solidarity she saw, but there was one thing she found perplexing. Many of the women at the protest shaved their heads on camera. As she began to follow more feminazi Twitter accounts, Youngmi understood this was a public act of rejection of those same aesthetic expectations posed on Korean women that have made the country a leader in grooming products and plastics. Yeah, plastic surgery like that. That is, I heard about that, man. Holy shit. Like, man, they do plastic surgery like we drink water. So she began to realize that, men do not do that. Men do not feel the pressure to buy clothes every season or wear makeup. All right, let's since you apparently can't understand this, look at it the other way. Yeah, women don't feel the pressure to work 20-hour days and work themselves into an early grave by 35 to meet societal norms. Like, see, they are perpetual victims. They think that, oh yeah, my lot in life is so bad, and they never even stop to consider, like, no, your society is bad for both men and women. But all they see is, oh, I'm being victimized by these men who are working 20-hour days. Yeah, that's right. So soon, Youngmi shaved her head too and stopped wearing makeup, joining the so-called escape the corset movement happening among young women in South Korea. I mean, like, do we have any Koreans in the chat? Like, do men actually care? Like, from all the guys I've talked to, they're just like, no, we just find these fucking bitches annoying and wish they'd get out of the way. But yeah, you know how they are. They're all about being seen and being heard. They can't just quietly go away. So the movement, which first gained popularity in current year -5, saw Korean women publicly turning away from society imposed beauty standards by cutting their hair short and going barefaced. Now, are you going to have this same level of understanding when men turn away from societally imposed work standards and go like herbivore style in like Japan, the Japanese men are doing? And just stop trying to climb the corporate ladder, stop doing overtime, just work part-time at a convenience store, and that's good enough for them? Are you going to have the same understanding for them, or are you going to try to shame them? I'd really love to see how they react. So Youngmi was not alone in current year -4. A survey found that 24% of women in their 20s reported cutting back their spending on beauty products in the previous year, with many saying they no longer felt the need to put in the effort. Well, I mean, after you hit the wall, there's only so much makeup can do. Now, this eventually led to Youngmi to 4B, a smaller but growing movement among Korean women. 4B is shorthand for 4 Korean words. I'll start with a B or a no. First is the first no. Bihon is refusal of heterosexual marriage. Bichusan, or refusal of childbirth. Bione is saying no to dating, and bisexual, a rejection of heterosexual sexual relationships. Okay, is both an ideological stance and a lifestyle. Many women I spoke to extend their boycott to nearly all the men in their lives, include distancing themselves from male friends. Translation: losing those male friends. Like, there is no distancing yourself from them. Nah, you walked away. You lost them. That's what that was. Just be honest. The open chat groups in Kakao Talk, Youngmi connected with other feminazis in Daegu, where she lived with her mother while attending a nursing school. Oh, so she forgave her mother for abandoning her with an abusive father then, huh? Right, soon meet each other offline. It's so easy to recognize each other with short hair, she said. She stopped seeing her friends from high school and middle school whose conversations still revolved around makeup, clothes, and boys. Oh, yep. This sounds like a joy to be around. We met last November at a cafe in Seoul where she has been living for the last 2 years. She was barefaced and dressed comfortably in loose jeans and a white fleece jacket. Her hair was long enough to be pulled back into a ponytail as she'd grown tired of people asking about her short hair at her nursing job, but was tucked into a white baseball cap. Feminazism, she said, that helped her recognize that it was the patriarchy that was the problem, not her. And these bad things that happen in your life are not your fault, she said. Oh, there it is. I was waiting for that. Yup. You pulled a pig roach. You did everything right. You did nothing wrong. You've been treated unfairly. Nothing is your fault. Everything is the fault of the original sin of patriarchy. And if you could just defeat patriarchy, you could have your utopia. Yup, there we go. Good luck with that, sister. Oh man, we could probably just end that here, honestly. But yeah, let's go a little bit more. For Youngmi and many others who subscribe to the basic premises, 4B or practicing Bihon is the only path by which Korean women today can live autonomously. In their view, Korean men are essentially beyond redemption, and Korean culture on the whole is hopelessly patriarchal. I'm sure the men who are working themselves to death for these thankless harpies see it that way too. Often downright misogynies in a current year that 7 survey by the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family found that incidence of intimate partner violence at 41.5%, significantly higher than the global average of 30%. Well, look at also the stats of violence when you count lesbians and gay men in there. Which ones are the most violent? Which ones are the most peaceful? While 4B's adherents may hope to change society through demonstrations and online activism and by modeling alternative lifestyle to other women's, they're not trying to change the men whom they view as their oppressors. It is too soon to tell whether this movement can survive and thrive over the long haul. It can't. Once the Korean economy goes down the shitter again, so will feminism, okay? But its ideas and actions have already affected the country's online discourse and politics, most of all, individual women's lives. Hey, don't forget, they are so horrible that they were able to get a man elected president by campaigning against this BS. Practicing bihon means you're eliminating the risks that come from heterosexual marriage or dating. Yoan, 26-year-old, Christmas cake. Office worker told me at a cafe terrace on seaside southern city of Busan. We talked over coffee and pastries along with Yoan's girlfriend and another of their friends, all of them wearing wide black pants and black sweaters and sporting cropped short haircuts. Those risks Yoan alluded to might seem familiar, trading career for child rearing and housework, as well as threats of physical violence. But in Korea, Yoan said marriage presents an existential threat. So there was a time when Minji, a 4B adherent in Daegu, had wanted to get married because, everyone wants to get married, knowing what she knows now. However, like the domestic violence, she puts it, is so common. I don't want to get married anymore. Now, I just want to point out, too, when men talk about, I don't want to get married because I see all these other guys getting bent over in divorce court and men in cheaper to keeper marriages. Men lose everything in divorce. I'm not going to put myself through it. They're told to man up. They're called wimps. They're called pussies. They're not real men. Yet women as well. I might be a victim of domestic violence if I get married. Therefore, all men are bad and I'm going to avoid it. You go, girl. You show the patriarchy. So Minji, 27, is probably heterosexual, she said, and has liked a few guys in the past, but they wanted her to treat them like a king. How much you want to bet this was reciprocal? She wanted them to treat her like a queen too, and yet she wasn't willing to reciprocate. So she has no problem boycotting of men of her generation who are a little better than her selfish and abusive father. Even young women who are not members of the movement echo that they cannot imagine dating or marrying a Korean man. So Yoon, a teacher in her early 30s, told me that talking to her male friends makes me almost feel like, maybe I can never find a Korean man. Well, you're already past the age in which you had a chance. So yeah, even in my generation, some guys expect a really traditional role for their spouse. Hey, guess what? Do you expect a traditional role from a man? Because that's something I see a lot here in the U.S. You got all of these strong feminists, don't need no man women, yet they demand a traditional man. Yeah, no. Unless you're going to be a traditional woman, you're not going to get a traditional man. So fuck off. Says to prove a point, a recent survey by a matchmaking company found that women were reluctant to marry because of the division of housework, while men hesitate to because of feminazism. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I cannot imagine how tough it must be to be a man in Korea right now, having to deal with this BS. Again, if you live in the West and you think feminism is bad here, like I said, Korean feminists make our feminists look like trad wives. Like they are so bad. Like I really feel sorry for my Korean brothers, man. This is horrible having to put up with this. But yeah, the rest of this article is more of the same. This is something that history's going to take care of one way or another. In a few years, maybe when the economy crashes again and they can no longer pretend to be strong and independent while living off of mostly male taxpayer money, while having charity jobs like diversity and inclusion officer, when they can no longer do that, or when things really collapse. Imagine Venezuela. You saw in Venezuela, right? You had all these strong women. As soon as the country collapsed, you had these quote unquote doctors and lawyers and professional women in Venezuela jumping the border to Colombia to whore themselves out for sandwiches. You don't hear of men, well, sometimes you do, but you don't hear of men whoring themselves out nearly as often. There's a few stories of gay for pay, but for the most part, men don't have that option. And when times get tough, men have to figure it out. It's like, how are we going to survive this? Women, as soon as times get tough, they start spreading their legs. How strong